The alien queen gasped. That's true then. You're believing in a fictional human. She likes humans. Commander Sarah Chen walked slowly through the grand hall of the Kethmori Palace. Her boots made soft sounds on the smooth crystal floor. The walls around her glowed with soft blue light that seemed to come from inside the crystal itself. She had never seen anything like this place before. Behind her walked two other humans from Earth's diplomatic team. Dr. Martinez carried a small bag with gifts from their home planet. Lieutenant Park kept his hand close to his communication device, ready to call their ship if needed. Sarah looked ahead and saw the throne room doors. They were huge, made of the same glowing crystal as everything else in the palace. Too tall. Alien guards stood beside the doors. Guards had hard shells on their backs and arms. Their skin changed colors slowly from green to purple to gold. Remember, Sarah whispered to her team, we are here to make friends. The Kethmori Empire controls this whole part of space. If we can make peace with them, it will help all of humanity. The doors opened without any sound. Sarah stepped inside and stopped. The throne room was enormous. The ceiling went up so high that she could not see the top. Hundreds of alien beings stood in rows on both sides of a long walkway. They all looked at the humans with large dark eyes. At the end of the walkway stood a throne made of white crystal that sparkled like diamonds. On the throne sat Queen Zephyria. Sarah had seen pictures of the queen before, but seeing her in person was different. The queen was tall and graceful. Her skin was smooth and pale blue with silver patterns that moved and changed. Her eyes were larger than human eyes, colored like deep ocean water. On her head sat a crown that looked like it was made of frozen starlight. Sarah and her team walked forward. The alien courtiers watched them carefully. Some whispered to each other in their musical language. Sarah could feel their eyes studying every move she made. When they reached the throne, Sarah stopped and bowed. Your Majesty, she said in clear voice, I am Commander Sarah Chen of the United Earth Fleet. We come in peace, hoping to build friendship between our peoples. Queen Zephyria leaned forward on her throne. When she spoke, her voice was like music. Welcome, humans. I have heard many interesting things about your species. Please, tell me about your homeworld. Sarah smiled. This was going better than expected. Earth is a beautiful planet, Your Majesty. We have vast oceans, high mountains, and many different types of land. But what makes Earth special is not just the land itself. It is the people who live there. Tell me about these people, the queen said. Her skin patterns began to glow brighter, which Sarah's training told her meant interest. Humans come in many different forms and colors, Sarah explained. We speak thousands of languages. We have created art, music, and stories for thousands of years. We believe in many different things. A tall alien in military uniform stepped forward. This was General Krex, the Queen's advisor. His shell was darker than the others, and his eyes were cold. Beliefs, he said with a harsh voice. Do you mean your species still follows primitive superstitions? Sarah felt her team tense behind her, but she stayed calm. We have many beliefs. General, some are about science and facts. Others are about hope, morality, and the stories that guide us. Queen Zephyria raised one elegant hand, and General Krex stepped back. Stories, she repeated. Tell me more about these stories. Sarah thought carefully about how to explain. Oh, Your Majesty, humans tell stories about heroes. Some of these heroes were real people who lived long ago. Others are fictional characters. The Queen's eyes grew even wider. Fictional? You mean they never existed? That is correct, Sarah said. We create characters in our imagination. We tell stories about them. We write books and make films about their adventures. Even though we know they are not real, these characters teach us important lessons. General Krex made a sound of disgust. Your species wastes time on creatures that do not exist? How primitive? But Queen Zephyria ignored him completely. Was staring at Sarah with such intensity that it made Sarah feel uncomfortable. You believe in beings you know are not real? The Queen asked. In a way, yes, Sarah answered. For example, we have a character called Superman. He is very strong and can fly. He always tries to help people and do the right thing. He is not real, but many humans try to be like him. They ask themselves, what would Superman do when they face difficult choices? The Queen's skin patterns were now pulsing with bright silver light. The other aliens in the throne room began to whisper more loudly. This was clearly unusual behavior for their queen. We have others too, Sarah continued, encouraged by the Queen's interest. Sherlock Holmes helps us think about solving problems. Wonder Woman teaches us about courage and justice. Harry Potter shows us that even ordinary people can do extraordinary things if they are brave and kind. Fascinating, the Queen whispered. She looked around the throne room at all her courtiers. All of you, leave us now. I wish to speak with the human commander alone. General Kreck stepped forward. Your Majesty, I do not think that is wise. These aliens could be dangerous. Queen Zephyria's eyes flashed with anger. I am still the queen of this empire. When I give an order, you will follow it. Leave, now. The general's shell darkened, but he bowed and walked away. Soon all the other aliens left the throne room. The huge doors closed with a soft sound. Sarah's team members looked worried, but Sarah nodded to them. They moved back to give the Queen and Sarah privacy. Queen Zephyria stood up from her throne and walked down to Sarah, up close. Sarah could see that the Queen was even more beautiful than she had thought. But there was something else in the Queen's eyes, something that looked almost like sadness. Commander Chen, the Queen said softly, what you have told me is remarkable. Your species believes in fictional beings, yet you also build spaceships and travel between stars. You have logic and imagination working together. Yes, Your Majesty, is that unusual? The Queen was quiet for a long moment. Her skin patterns shifted to darker colors. Very unusual, she finally said. Tell me more. About your fictional humans. The ones your species believes in despite knowing they never existed. I must understand this better. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. There was something important happening here, something bigger than a simple cultural exchange. The way the Queen spoke, the intensity in her eyes, the way she had dismissed her entire court. Your Majesty, Sarah said carefully, may I ask why this interests you so much? Queen Zephyria looked around the empty throne room, then back at Sarah. Commander Chen, I believe your species may have something that mine has lost forever. And if I am right, then perhaps there's hope for us after all. Sarah looked into Queen Zephyria's ocean blue eyes and saw something that surprised her. The most powerful ruler in this part of the galaxy looked desperate. Your Majesty, Sarah said gently, I will tell you anything you want to know about our fictional characters. First, please help me understand why this is so important to you. The Queen walked to a large window that showed the city below. Thousands of crystal buildings stretched as far as Sarah could see. Flying vehicles moved between them in perfect patterns. Everything looked organized and efficient. Look at my empire, Commander Chen, the Queen said. We have the most advanced technology in the galaxy. Our scientists can build machines that you humans cannot imagine. Our mathematicians solve problems that would take your computers years to figure out. We live for over 300 years. We've conquered disease and poverty. Sarah joined the Queen at the window. It sounds wonderful, Your Majesty. The Queen's skin patterns turned a dark purple color. It should be wonderful. But it is not. She touched the crystal glass with one long finger. Tell me, Commander, when was the last time someone in your species created something completely new? Something that had never existed before? Sarah thought about it. That happens all the time. Artists create new paintings and songs every day. Writers invent new stories. Scientists discover new things by imagining what might be possible. Exactly, the Queen said. But my people cannot do this anymore. We can only improve what already exists. We cannot imagine anything truly new. The Queen turned away from the window and sat on a simple chair instead of returning to her throne. This made her seem more like a person than a ruler. Please, she said, tell me more about how your fictional characters influence real humans. I need to understand this. Sarah sat down across from the Queen. Well, let me give you some examples. There is a character named Atticus Finch from a story called To Kill a Mockingbird. He is a lawyer who defends innocent people even when it is dangerous and unpopular. Many human lawyers read his story and decide to help people who cannot help themselves. The Queen leaned forward. Even though he never existed? Even though he never existed, Sarah confirmed. There is another character named Jean-Luc Picard. From stories about space exploration, he is a ship captain who always tries to find peaceful solutions to problems. He believes in diplomacy and understanding. Many real human captains and diplomats try to act like him. But how can fiction influence reality? The Queen asked. How can something that is not real make people change their behavior? Sarah smiled. Because fiction shows us what we could be, gives us models to follow. When a human child reads about a brave character who helps others, that child might decide to be brave too. When someone reads about a character who never gives up, they might find strength to keep trying when life is hard. The Queen's skin patterns began to glow with soft silver light again. So these fictional beings teach your people? Yes, but more than that, Sarah said. They give us hope. They show us that it is possible to be better than we are. Even when life is difficult, we can imagine heroes who would find a way to solve the problem. Then we try to solve it the same way. To Queen. Zephyria stood up and began walking around the room. Her movements were graceful, but restless. Commander Chen, I must tell you something that no one else in my empire knows. Something that could destroy me if my council discovered it. Sarah felt her heart beat faster. You can trust me, Your Majesty. The Queen stopped walking and looked directly at Sarah. My people are dying. Dying. But you said you conquered disease. Not dying from sickness, the Queen explained. Dying from ... emptiness. For the past 50 years, fewer and fewer of my people choose to have children. Our young adults spend their days in their homes doing nothing. They say there is no point in trying new things because everything useful has already been discovered. Sarah felt a chill. They have lost hope. Yes, the Queen whispered. We have become so focused on facts and logic that we forgot how to dream. We have forgotten how to imagine things that do not yet exist. Our greatest scientists cannot invent anything new because they cannot picture something that has never been built before. The Queen sat down again, and for the first time, she looked like an ordinary person with ordinary problems. Our artists stopped making art because they say, there are only so many logical combinations of colors and shapes. Our musicians stopped composing because they say all possible combinations of sounds have been tried. But that is not true, Sarah said. Art and music are not just about logic. They are about emotion and imagination and dreams, the Queen finished. Yes, but my people have forgotten how to dream. Sarah began to understand. You want to learn how humans balance logic with imagination. More than that, Queen Zephyria said. I want to learn how your people believe in fictional characters. How they can know something is not real but still be inspired by it. Okay. Can follow the example of someone who never existed. The Queen stood up and walked to a small table. On it sat a device that looked like a crystal ball. She touched it, and images appeared inside. Sarah saw scenes of human life from Earth's television and internet broadcasts. I have been watching your people for 3 years, the Queen admitted. I studied your entertainment, your stories, your religions. I watched humans get excited about fictional characters in movies. I saw them dress up like these characters and pretend to be them. I saw children playing games where they acted like heroes from books. The images in the crystal changed. Now Sarah saw Kethmori cities where the aliens moved slowly and mechanically. No one seemed happy or excited about anything. My people do not play, the Queen said sadly. They do not pretend. They do not imagine. They only calculate and measure. And prove. Sarah felt deep sympathy for the Queen. Your Majesty, what do you want me to do? Queen Zephyria turned to face her. The Queen's skin patterns were now pulsing with desperate intensity. I want you to teach my people what you have taught me today. I want you to show them how to believe in fictional beings, how to be inspired by characters who never existed, how to dream of things that might be possible. Sarah's breath caught in her throat. But your majesty, would your people accept this? Would your council allow it? The queen's expression became very serious. That is the problem, Commander Chen. My council believes that anything fictional is a lie. They think that believing in lies makes people weak and stupid. If they discovered what I am asking you to do, what would happen? Sarah asked. Queen Zephyria's skin turned almost black. They would remove me from power. They would say, I am trying to corrupt our species with primitive human thinking, and they would probably expel all humans from our space forever. Sarah realized the full danger of what the queen was suggesting. So this would have to be secret. Very secret, the queen confirmed. But, Commander Chen, if we do not try this, my people will slowly fade away. We will become a species that can maintain what exists, but can never create anything new. We will survive, but we will never truly live again. The queen walked over to Sarah and took her hands. Her touch was warm despite her alien appearance. Will you help me save my people? Will you teach us how to believe in beautiful lies that make life worth living? Sarah looked into the queen's desperate eyes and realized that the fate of an entire civilization might depend on her answer. 3 weeks had passed since Queen Zephyria's secret request. Sarah found herself walking through dark tunnels beneath the Crystal Palace. The queen had shown her these hidden passages that connected to old storage chambers deep underground. These rooms had been forgotten for centuries, making them perfect for their secret meetings. Sarah carried a small bag with books and pictures from Earth. Behind her walked Dr. Martinez, who had volunteered to help with the teaching. They had told the rest of their diplomatic team that they were having extended cultural discussions with the queen. Are you sure about this? Dr. Martinez whispered as they walked. If we get caught, it could start a war between Earth and the Kethmori Empire. I know, Sarah replied quietly. But did you see how the queen looked when she talked about her? People, they are dying inside, even if their bodies are healthy. If we can help them find hope again, it is worth the risk. They reached a heavy door made of old stone instead of crystal. Sarah knocked 3 times, then twice, then once. This was the secret code the queen had taught her. The door opened, and Queen Zephyria appeared. She wore simple clothes instead. Of her royal robes, in the dim light, she looked like any other Kethmori citizen. Welcome, she said softly. The others are already here. Sarah and Dr. Martinez stepped into the chamber. It was a large room with smooth stone walls. Old lighting systems cast a warm glow that was gentler than the bright crystal light upstairs. Around the room sat 12 young Kethmori. They all looked nervous but curious. Hello everyone, Sarah said as she set down her bag. Thank you for coming to our 3rd meeting. I know this is strange for all of you. A young female named Lyra raised her hand. She worked as an engineer in the palace. Commander Chen, I have been thinking about what you said last time, about the character named Iron Man. You said he was not born special, but he made himself into a hero using his intelligence. That is right, Sarah said, smiling. Tony Stark was just a regular human, but he used his mind to build amazing technology. He decided to use that technology to help people. But he is not real, said Vex. A young scientist. How can a story about someone who does not exist teach us anything useful? This was the same question that came up in every meeting. The Kethmori had been trained from childhood to only value facts and proven information. It's the idea of learning. From fiction was like asking them to breathe underwater. Dr. Martinez stepped forward. Vex, let me ask you something. When you design experiments in your laboratory, do you imagine what might happen before you begin? Of course, Vex replied. I create hypotheses based on logical possibilities. So you imagine something that has not happened yet, Dr. Martinez continued. You picture results that do not exist until you test them. Vex's skin patterns shifted from dark blue to lighter colors. Ah, yes, that is true. Fictional characters work the same way, Sarah explained. They are imagined people who show us how someone might act in different situations. We can learn from their imagined choices without having to make the same mistakes ourselves.
Oh.
She opened her bag and pulled out a book with pictures. This is the story of a character named Hermione Granger. She is very intelligent, like all of you. But what makes her special is that she uses her intelligence to help her friends and protect people who are weaker than her. Sarah showed them pictures from the story. The young Kethmori leaned forward to look more closely. This was progress. In their first meeting, they had refused to even look at fictional images. Hermione teaches us that being smart is not enough, Sarah continued. We must also be brave and kind. We must use our knowledge to make the world better. Lyra's skin patterns began to glow with soft gold light. So, ... when I face a difficult problem at work, I could ask myself, what would Hermione do? Exactly. Sarah said, you would think about how to solve the problem in a way that helps everyone, not just yourself. For the next hour, Sarah and Dr. Martinez told more stories. They talked about characters who overcame fear, who stood up for justice, who never gave up when things seemed impossible. Slowly, the young Kethmori began to understand. But they were not the only ones learning. Far above them in the palace, security center, General Krex watched video screens that showed activity throughout the building. He had noticed that Queen Zephoria had been acting strangely since the humans arrived. She spent long periods away from the throne room. Unusual questions during council meetings. She seemed different. Krex was the Queen's cousin, but he had never agreed with her policies. He believed that Kethmori should rule the galaxy through strength and logic, not through diplomacy and cooperation. The arrival of humans had given him new worries. Commander Thex, he called to his aide. Have you been monitoring the Queens? Activities as I requested? Yes, General, Thex replied. She leaves the palace through the old maintenance tunnels 3 times each week. She stays underground for approximately 2 hours each time. And the humans? They disappear from their guest quarters at the same times. Our sensors cannot track them once they enter the old tunnel system. General Krex's shell darkened with anger. What could the Queen be doing with the humans in secret? Why would she need to hide anything from the Imperial Council? He stood up and walked to the large window in his office. Below, he could see Kethmori citizens moving through the streets. They walked slowly and mechanically, as they always did. This was how a proper civilization should function. Everyone should follow logical patterns and proven methods. Sir, Commander Vex said carefully, there have been other unusual reports. What kind of reports? Some of the younger palace workers have been acting. Strangely, they seem more energetic than usual. Yesterday, Engineer Lyra submitted a design proposal that our computers say is impossible, according to standard calculations. General Krex turned around quickly. Impossible? A new type of crystal formation that should not be able to exist. But her mathematics appear to be correct. The senior engineers are very confused, and she is one of the workers who has been seen near the old tunnels? Yes, sir. General Krex felt a cold fear growing in his chest. Something was happening to his people, something that defied logic and reason, and somehow the humans were involved. Commander, Dex, gather a squad of security guards. Tonight we will follow the Queen into those tunnels. We will discover what the humans are doing to corrupt our people. Sir, are you sure? The Queen will not be pleased if we spy on her private activities. The Queen's private activities have become a threat to our civilization, Krex replied coldly. If she is allowing aliens to poison our minds with their primitive thinking, then she is no longer fit to rule. That evening, Sarah was in the middle of telling the story of a character named Luke Skywalker when she heard something that made her blood freeze. The sound of heavy footsteps in the tunnel outside. Queen Zephoria heard it too. Her skin patterns flashed bright red in alarm. Someone is coming, she whispered. The young Kethmori looked terrified. If they were caught in these secret meetings, they could be punished severely. Learning from humans was not officially forbidden, but meeting in secret suggested they were doing something wrong. The footsteps grew louder. Sarah could hear the metal sound of armor and weapons. Quick, the Queen said, hide the human materials. But it was too late. The stone door burst open, and General Krex strode into the chamber. Behind him came 6 armed guards with their weapons ready. So, Krex said, his voice filled with disgust, this is what our Queen does in secret. She gathers our young people to fill their minds with alien nonsense. Queen Zephoria stood up, trying to regain her royal dignity. General Krex, you have no right to spy on me or to enter this place without permission. I have every right to protect our empire from contamination, Krex replied. He looked around the room at the frightened young Kethmori, then at Sarah and Dr. Martinez. Guards, arrest the humans. They are charged with corrupting our people with fictional lies. Wait. Lyra suddenly stood up. Her skin was glowing bright gold with determination. General Krex, the humans have not corrupted us. They've taught us something wonderful. Be silent, engineer, Krex commanded. You have been infected with their irrational thinking. We will cure you of this disease. But Lyra did not back down. The first time in her life, she acted like one of the brave. Characters from Sarah's stories? No, General. I will not be silent. What we have learned here is not disease. It is hope.
The Great Council Chamber was the largest room in the Crystal Palace. Sarah had never seen it before, but she had heard that it could hold 1,000 people. Today, it felt like it held the entire Kethmori Empire. Sarah stood in the center of the chamber with Dr. Martinez beside her. They were not chained, but 6 guards surrounded them. Their hands were bound with energy fields that glowed blue round their wrists, round them. Hundreds of Kethmori filled the seats. These were the most important people in the empire, scientists, military leaders, governors from other worlds, and advisors to the throne. All of them stared at the 2 humans with expressions that ranged from curiosity to disgust. At the front of the chamber sat the Imperial Council. 12 ancient Kethmorian magnificent robes occupied crystal thrones arranged in a half-circle. In the center, on the highest throne, sat Queen Zephoria. But today she could not speak as their friend. Today she had to act as their judge, General. Krex stood at a speaking platform to the right. His dark shell gleamed under the bright lights, and his eyes were cold with satisfaction. This was the moment he had been waiting for. Honored Council, Krex began, his voice echoing through the chamber. Today we face a threat to our civilization unlike any we have seen before. These aliens from Earth have poisoned the minds of our young people with dangerous ideas. He gestured towards Sarah and Dr. Martinez. They have taught our citizens to believe in creatures that do not exist. They have encouraged irrational thinking. They have infected our people with the primitive concept of hope based on fictional characters. One of the council members, an elderly female named Counselor Vera, leaned forward. General Krex, please explain why believing in fictional characters is dangerous to our society. Because fiction is lies, Counselor, Krex replied. Our civilization is built on truth, logic, and proven facts. When we allow our people to believe in lies, we weaken the foundation of everything we have built. He touched a control device, and holographic images appeared in the air above the chamber. The images showed the young Kethmori from their secret meetings, their skin patterns glowing with excitement as they listened to Sarah's stories. Look at this contamination, Krex continued. These young citizens were once logical and calm. Now they show emotional responses to imaginary events. They base decisions on the actions of creatures that never existed. This is not evolution. This is corruption. More images appeared. These showed engineer Lyra's impossible crystal design and scientist Vex's new experimental approaches. The infected individuals are no longer following established procedures, Krex said. They attempt things that our computers say cannot work. They ignore proven methods in favor of ideas. Inspired by fictional characters, this kind of thinking will destroy our technological advantage. Counselor Zorn, a military leader, spoke up. General, what do you recommend we do about this contamination? Remove the source. Krex answered immediately. Expel the humans from our space permanently. Treat the infected individuals until they return to logical thinking, and ensure that no future contact with human culture is permitted. The council members whispered among themselves. Sarah could see that many of them agreed with Krex. To them, imagination probably seemed like a mental disease. Queen Zephoria raised her hand for silence. The council will now hear from the accused. Commander Chen, you may speak in your defense. Sarah stepped forward as far as her guards would allow. Her heart was beating fast, but she tried to remember the brave characters from the stories. She had told, what would Captain Picard do in this situation? How would Wonder Woman face a hostile audience? Honored Council, Sarah began. General Krex is right about one thing. We did teach your young people about fictional characters, but we did not corrupt them. We gave them something. They had lost. What did they lose? Asked Counselor Vera. The ability to imagine a better future. Sarah replied, your people have become so focused on maintaining what exists that they forgot how to create what could exist. She looked around the chamber, making eye contact with as many Kethmori as possible. You say that fiction is lies, but fiction is not about truth or falsehood. Fiction is about possibility. It shows us what we might become if we try hard enough. General Krex interrupted. Possibility based on impossible events. Your fictional characters have abilities that real beings cannot possess, do they? Sarah asked. Let me tell you about some human fictional characters. There's a detective named Sherlock Holmes who solves mysteries using careful observation and logical thinking. There's a leader named Jean-Luc Picard who resolves conflicts through diplomacy and understanding. There's a young woman named Hermione Granger who uses knowledge and study to overcome challenges. She paused and looked directly at General Krex. These characters do not have magical powers, General. They have qualities that any intelligent being can develop if they choose to try. Dr. Martinez stepped forward. Honored Council. May I share something I observed during our meetings? Queen Zephyria nodded permission. The young Kethmori who attended our sessions began to change in wonderful ways, Dr. Martinez said. They started asking new questions. They proposed creative solutions to old problems. They showed enthusiasm for their work that had been missing before. Enthusiasm is not logical. Counselor Zarn stated. No, but it leads to innovation, Dr. Martinez replied. On Earth, our greatest discoveries come from people who were enthusiastic enough to keep trying. When logic said they should give up, fictional heroes teach us to persist when things seem impossible. Suddenly, there was movement in the audience seating area. Engineer Lyra stood up, her skin glowing with golden determination. Council members, she called out, may I speak? Murmurs of surprise filled the chamber. It was unusual for a young citizen to address the council directly. Queen Zephyria looked at General Krex, then back at Lyra. You may speak, engineer. Lyra walked to the center of the chamber. Honored Council, I was one of the infected individuals. General Krex described. The humans taught me about a character named Tony Stark, who used his intelligence to build technology that helped people. A fictional character. General Krex said dismissively, yes, fictional, Lyra agreed. But learning about him changed how I think about my work. Instead of just maintaining existing systems, I started imagining new possibilities. That is how I designed the crystal formation that everyone says is impossible. She touched her own control device, and new holographic images appeared. These showed mathematical equations and engineering diagrams. The design works, Lyra announced. I built a prototype yesterday. It produces 30% more energy than our current crystals while using fewer materials. Gasps echoed through the chamber. Several council members leaned forward to study the diagrams more closely. Scientist Vex stood up from another section of seats. Council members. I also attended the human sessions. I learned about characters who never stopped asking questions, who always looked for new answers. This inspired me to try experiments that our standard procedures said were unnecessary. More holographic displays appeared, showing Vex's research results. I discovered 3 new chemical compounds last week, Vex continued. Compounds that our computers said could not exist, but they do exist, because I imagined they might be possible and decided to test my imagination. Now other young Kethmori began standing up throughout the chamber. One by one, they shared stories of new discoveries, creative solutions, and renewed passion for their work, all inspired by fictional human characters. General Krex's shell darkened with anger as he watched this display. Council members, you are witnessing the spread of the contamination. These individuals are no longer thinking like proper Kethmori. They have been infected with dangerous human irrationality. But General, Counselor Varys said slowly, their results suggest that This contamination might actually be beneficial. Beneficial? Crex's voice rose to almost a shout. Council members, if we allow this infection to spread, it will destroy everything we are. Our young people will abandon logic in favor of dreams. Our society will collapse into chaos. He stepped closer to the council thrones. I have prepared a solution. My scientists have developed a cleansing protocol that can remove these fictional influences from the infected minds. We can cure them of their irrational thinking and return them to proper logical function. What kind of cleansing protocol? Queen Zephyria asked, though her skin patterns showed she was afraid of the answer. Memory adjustment, Crex replied. We will erase all memories of the human stories and the emotions associated with them. The affected individuals will return to their previous logical state. Lyra stepped forward desperately. But council members, if you erase our memories, you will also erase our new discoveries. You will erase our ability to imagine and create. Exactly. General Crex said with cold satisfaction. We will return you to the way you should be. Logical, calm, and properly focused on maintaining our civilization instead of chasing impossible dreams. The chamber fell silent as the full meaning of his words sank in. The choice was clear. Preserve the old way of logic-only thinking, or embrace a new path that included imagination and hope. General Crex smiled grimly as he saw the uncertainty on the council members' faces. General Crex raised his hand to signal his technicians around the council chamber. Hidden devices began to glow with red light. Sarah felt a strange tingling in the air as the cleansing protocol activated. It begins, Crex announced with satisfaction. In moments, the contamination will be removed from these young minds forever. The red light grew brighter, filling the chamber with an energy that made Sarah's skin feel tight. She watched in horror as the young Kethmori began to clutch their heads in pain. Lyra stumbled and fell to her knees. Vex's skin patterns flickered between colors as if his mind was fighting against itself. But then something unexpected happened. Lyra looked up from the floor, her eyes blazing with determination. No, she said, her voice growing stronger. I will not forget what I have learned. She stood up slowly, her skin glowing brighter than Sarah had ever seen it before. I remember Tony Stark. I remember how he used his mind to help people. I remember that being intelligent means using your knowledge to make things better. Vex struggled to his feet beside her. I remember Hermione Granger, he said, his voice shaking but firm. I remember that the greatest discoveries come from asking questions that others think are impossible. Other young Kethmori round the chamber began standing up, each one speaking the names of fictional characters and the lessons they had learned. Their skin patterns pulsed with synchronized light, as if they were connected by more than just shared memories. General Crex's confident expression changed to confusion, then to alarm. Impossible, he muttered, checking his control devices. The cleansing protocol should be erasing their memories, not strengthening them. General, one of his technicians called out, the subjects are showing unprecedented resistance. Their brain patterns are unlike anything we have seen before. Sarah watched in amazement as more and more young Kethmori throughout the chamber began to stand and speak. They were not just remembering the stories, they were becoming living examples of the characters they had learned about. I remember Jean-Luc Picard called out a young diplomat. I remember that true strength comes from understanding, not from force. I remember Wonder Woman, said a female engineer. I remember that protecting others is more important than protecting yourself. I remember Luke Skywalker, shouted a young soldier. I remember that hope can defeat even the darkest. Power. Queen Zephyria rose from her throne, her skin blazing with silver and gold light. General Crex, she said, her voice carrying across the chamber, stop this procedure immediately. I cannot stop it now, Crex replied, his voice becoming desperate. The protocol must complete its cycle, or it could damage their minds permanently. But the young Kethmori were no longer just resisting the cleansing protocol. They were inspiring others. Sarah watched as older Kethmori in the audience began to stand as well. These were people who had never attended the secret meetings, who had never heard the human stories directly. But seeing the courage of the young ones awakened something in them. What is happening? Dr. Martinez whispered to Sarah. They are discovering the power of collective belief, Sarah replied with wonder. They are seeing that when people share the same hopes and dreams, they become stronger than any individual could be alone. A middle-aged scientist stood up in the audience. I do not know these fictional characters, she called out, but I see what believing in them has done for our young people. I see creativity where there was emptiness. I see hope where there was despair. I see the future where there was only the past. More voices joined in from round the chamber. Kethmori, who had lived their entire lives following only logic and proven facts, were suddenly speaking about dreams and possibilities. General Krex watched his carefully ordered world falling apart. This is chaos, he shouted. This is the destruction of everything we have built. But Queen Zephyria stepped down from her throne and walked to the center of the chamber. Her skin patterns were now so bright that they cast light on everyone around her. No, General, she said, her voice filled with a strength that Sarah had never heard before. This is not destruction. This is transformation. She turned to face the entire assembly. For too long, our people have been dying inside. We have been so afraid of making mistakes that we stopped trying new things. We have been so focused on what is logical that we forgot what is possible. The Queen's voice grew stronger as she spoke. The humans have not contaminated us with lies. They have given us back something we lost long ago, the ability to imagine ourselves becoming better than we are. She looked directly at Sarah. Commander Chen, you asked me once why this was so important to me. Now I can give you the complete answer. I have been studying your species for years, and I discovered something remarkable. Humans are not the strongest species in the galaxy. They are not the smartest or the longest lived. But they have something that makes them more powerful than all of those advantages combined. Sarah felt her heart beating faster. What is that? Your Majesty, the ability to believe in heroes who never existed, and then to become those heroes themselves, the Queen replied. You do not just tell stories about brave, wise, and compassionate characters. You use those stories to make yourselves brave, wise, and compassionate. Queen Zephyria turned back to address her people. I have made a decision. From this day forward, our empire will embrace both logic and imagination. We will value both proven facts and inspiring possibilities. We will honor both what is real and what could become real if we are brave enough to try. The chamber erupted in voices, some cheering, some arguing, all passionate in a way that Kethmori had not been for generations. General Krex stood alone at his control station, watching his world change around him. You are destroying our civilization, he said, but his voice was weak now, confused. No, cousin, Queen Zephyria replied gently. I am saving it. She gestured to her guards. Disconnect the cleansing protocol immediately. Release our human guests. As the energy fields around Sarah's wrist dissolved, she felt a wave of relief and triumph. They had done it, somehow. The power of shared fictional inspiration had proven stronger than technology designed to erase it. In the days that followed, the transformation of Kethmori's society was remarkable. Young and old citizens began gathering to share stories, both human fictional tales and new stories they created themselves. Artists who had not painted in decades began creating again. Musicians composed new songs. Scientists proposed experiments that their computers said were impossible. Most importantly, the birth rate began to rise as young Kethmori found reasons to hope for the future again. Sarah found herself appointed to a new position, Ambassador of Imagination. Her job was to travel throughout the Kethmori Empire, teaching others what she had taught those first brave young people in the underground chambers. 6 months later, Sarah stood once again in the Crystal Throne Room, but now it looked different. The walls displayed artwork created by Kethmori artists inspired by human stories. Music played softly in the background, new compositions that mixed logical mathematical patterns with emotional melodies. Commander Chen, Queen Zephyria said as Sarah approached the throne. I have received requests from 12 other alien civilizations. They have heard about our transformation, and they want to learn about human fictional characters as well. Sarah smiled. Your Majesty, I think humanity would be honored to share our stories with anyone who wants to learn from them. The queen's skin patterns glowed with warm gold light. "There's something else I want to show you." She gestured to a wall where a new artwork had been installed. It showed a collection of figures, some clearly from human fiction, others that Sarah did not recognize. "These are the heroes who inspire us now," the queen explained. "Some are from your Earth stories. Others are fictional characters that my people have created, based on what we learned from you about the power of inspirational fiction." Sarah studied the artwork more closely and saw figures that looked like idealized versions of Queen Zephyria herself, along with other Kethmori heroes who embodied courage, wisdom, and hope. "We are creating our own fictional role models now," the queen continued. "Characters who show us how to be the best possible versions of ourselves. We are learning to believe in beautiful dreams that inspire us to make those dreams come true." As Sarah left the palace that day, she reflected on what humanity had given to the Kethmori Empire. It was not technology or weapons or scientific knowledge. It was something much more powerful, the ability to hope for something better, and to work toward making that hope real. She looked up at the crystal city around her, now filled with Kethmori who walked with purpose and energy instead of mechanical routine. Children played games where they pretended to be heroes from stories. Adults discussed new ideas with excitement instead of tired resignation. Humanity had shared its greatest gift with the galaxy, the power to believe in fictional heroes, and then to become real heroes themselves. And that gift was spreading to other worlds, other species, other civilizations that had forgotten how to dream. Sarah smiled as she realized that this was humanity's true destiny among the stars, not to conquer or to rule, but to teach the galaxy how to believe in better versions of itself and then to work together to make those beliefs